And now,
it's 10 a.m.
let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ed, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your day. Hi, Ben.
Welcome back.
How'd it go?
You know what? Everything in sports happened while you were gone.
I know, as usual.
So it was a week that I think only DJ did a full segment. We only have one sit-in guest. Cole came in for a segment, but what'd you say? Chandler came in for an hour. You're right. We had some people come in and hang out, but mostly solo, but there was plenty of content. There was no lacking stories while you were gone. Good and bad.
As usual.
Yeah.
Yeah. You leave me the deserts of sports, and I leave you the whole world changes in a week.
Well, usually that last week leading up to the All-Star break is a bad week of sports. You know, you do a Friday show that's like, let's talk about who's going to win the dunk contest. And I think we did a 50 segment just kind of talking about who was in it. But, man, there was no lacking for storylines.
I was not jealous on Friday, however, with the Parker Kingston stuff.
No.
I opened up the Snap Talk on Friday, and I was like, oh, man, I'm glad I'm missing this one.
And even then, the Jazz got fined $500,000 that same morning. And it was just like, oh, I guess that's not going to be our lead story anymore. So I'm glad it was eventful. And thanks for everybody who came How
in
was
and
the trip?
Pitched in. Well, I was telling Christian, the important stuff was great.
Good.
My kids had a wonderful time. We did pretty much everything we wanted to do. Disney is Disney. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a cruise. They Disneyfied it big time. But I do not think I am a cruise person.
Okay.
I do not think that's...
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'd recognize that.
I don't think that's me. One, I'm still dizzy.
Okay. That did bother you.
Well, it doesn't bother you during, it's after. Anyway, so I suffer from vertigo, so I'm still dizzy. Second of all, it is 4,000 people in one place. You know,
a lot.
And they do a pretty good job, I'd say, about dispersing it most of the time, but it's crowded wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just don't. I'd prefer maybe to stay in one place.
Sure.
As opposed to be on a giant ship. But my family had a great time.
Good.
I mean, so
that's what matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. We've got a lot of pictures and videos and all that stuff. I kind of found Elsa, which was my goal.
Okay.
Which is funny because, we saw Elsa because there's an Arendelle themed, dinner place, right? So we saw, because they do kind of a dinner show and whatever, and we see that. But I did not get that picture with Elsa until the last day when I'm waiting for my family at the gift shop, kind of by the elevator, and all of a sudden there's Elsa right by the elevator. So, of course, I absolutely run and grab my kids, throw them in front of Elsa, take the picture. They were surprisingly unenthused, but I've been trying for literally years to get this picture. And my wife tells me, 10 minutes later, she's like, that wasn't Elsa, right? That was just some buffoon dressed as Elsa who's just a passenger on the trip.
Not a real actor.
Not a real,
performer.
Disney employed Elsa. And I said, shh. Don't ruin this for me.
Don't ruin this.
I don't care if the kids know, but don't ruin this for me.
Okay.
I feel like I worked really hard to get that picture, and now you just cheapened it.
I don't want to even start with Santa. Yeah.
I don't know. That's the real Elsa as far as I'm concerned, not
okay.
just some overly enthusiastic tourist.
Yeah. Well, you succeeded then. Good for you.
I waited in several hours worth of lines to get pictures with several characters, too.
Good.
But they got 20 or something.
Time well
that,
spent.
So not for me.
Yeah, right.
But then again, I'm some idiot with a broken arm. What am I going to do?
I get it.
I'm going to stand there in line. What am I going to be, swimming? But the other thing with the cruise, a lot of people will tell you, the food is, you just have food whenever you want. I'm not a food person.
Yeah.
I don't think I even took advantage of that. I ate the set meals, but it's not they've got brisket and stuff if you just want to snack at the pool. I did none of that.
They're trying to thread a difficult needle, which I think is hard, because if you're a foodie, the food's not good enough. You know what I mean? It's not like the highest level restaurant quality if you were to just travel to a food place. I mean like a food city and just want to try their best food. But it's not like, it's not amazing. It's not, it's just all you can eat. I mean, that's all it is. It's like
for your volume food.
It's
people.
mediocre Vegas food everywhere you go. And we eat a lot of buffet food because we follow the Jazz, we cover the Jazz, and that's what they feed you. It's a lot of that.
It is. And I'm not even hating on buffet food. It's just not my thing. Like, I'm not the guy who just wants to eat all day.
Right. So you've got to find somebody who wants to eat a lot but doesn't necessarily need amazing food.
And really appreciates the access. The fact that you can go from not eating to eating like a hamburger in
at any time of day.
45 seconds, That type, which does exist.
Of course.
I assure
and if that's your thing, no shame.
Kids like the ice cream, of course, everybody talks about. Ice cream available 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it was very Disney. It was very. I didn't watch a second of the Olympics because, of course, the mouse doesn't allow NBC on their boat. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You have like ABC, ESPN, and the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And that's what you had available.
Dang.
So
We have a problem?
yeah, I didn't get to watch any Olympics.
Oh, that's too bad.
Not that you're really sitting in the room anyway.
Sure.
I was talking to those guys, especially like a cruise room. If you're hanging out in the room, you're certainly doing it wrong, or you're sick.
Yeah.
So, but you have the same attendant the whole time, and they get familiar, and you have the same like people that help you out. Like they've got it pretty buttoned up. I'm assuming most cruise lines are that way, but Disney's particularly that way.
Yeah. Well, good. Glad you made it. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad you didn't further injure yourself.
Wow, really happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some wet stairs, by
absolutely.
those pools.
Yeah.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah.
My kids didn't particularly love the kids club, so I didn't get a whole lot of like dad
time.
Adult time.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
The whole trip was about them anyway.
Good. Well, I'm glad it was successful.
I've never been to the Bahamas, and it's everything they say it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
All right, Ben. Well, where do you want to start? The All-Star? You want to talk about BYU? Devastating injury?
Yeah, I think that's probably where to start. I think that's probably unfortunate. Part of the storyline we didn't mention of all the things that happened last week was when BYU needed a huge win at Baylor, they got it. You finally kind of saw the vision of all of the pieces working together. Robert Wright, I thought, had his best game of the season so far. AJ DeBonsa came out, I think, 36, 8-7 or something. He was just like, okay, he is breaking through. Like, they faced the adversity. They ran into what we described was not a must-win, but a game everybody was focused on, and it all came together. And then 45 seconds into their next game, they lost Richie Saunders for the season, which, with it, significantly reduces their hopes of a deep run in the NCAA tournament.
How significant, I think, is a thing. Because I don't know if it does significantly reduce based on tournament play, because depth becomes less of a thing, and the tournament is definitely about guard play, which they still have, and top-end guys basically dragging you there. You stop making subs and all those things, and I think Kevin Young's job got a little harder, but they still have two of the best players in the conference.
They do.
And that matters. I mean, I think a lot of people, and this is an extreme example, forgive me, but going back to the past, I think a lot of people thought that there's no way that the University of Utah gets past the Sweet 16, or they had been in the Elite Eight the year before after Keith Van Horn graduated. It's like you take away the best player on the country, and that Andre Miller and Mike Doliak are pretty good, but they're not Keith Van Horn. I mean, how would they be expected? And then all of a sudden they got the right matchups in the tournament, and Andre Miller played the best basketball of his life, and Utah's in the finals. So the NCAA tournament is pretty wacky. And
it is.
Richie Saunders, I would say the injury to Saunders would have hurt them way more last year than it does this year.
I'm curious because their big issue is that they don't have any depth. There's zero depth on the team. The problem is now that depth is in the starting five.
Right,
the problem that lack of quality, now 4 of your 5 guys are able to play at this level, and maybe you have a 5th who's truly not.
Agreed, but that matters way less in tournament play.
I wonder if it matters more. That's kind of my question. I wonder if that's when you start to run into an issue.
Except for coaches stop playing 8 players and they start playing 5 in the tournament.
Right.
I mean, that's that's real. I mean, Rick Pitino, or not Rick Pitino, who am I thinking of? Calipari just stopped making substitutions whenever Kentucky got to the tournament. So,
but generally, he had his top 5 guys on the floor. BYU does no longer have that. BYU has 2 very good players on the floor, and then they bring in somebody to replace Richie Saunders, who, to this point, the season has not proven they're a rotation caliber player.
I don't know if you need more than 2.
We'll see. We'll
so
see.
that's the thing. I really don't. You know, Utah, going back to that team with Doliak and Miller, they had a spark plug named Britton Johnson coming off the bench, and that's pretty much it.
They had Alex Jensen, right?
But he started. I'm talking about
coming off the bench.
Coming off the bench. I mean, nobody else played. You had Britton coming in and gave you, probably 15 minutes of energy, and it was exactly what that team needed, and nobody else played.
Yeah.
So, yes, it hurts BYU's depth. There's no doubt. But the like hampering a significant run, I just don't know because there's so much randomness. You know, I would not have predicted that the Jimmer team would have beaten Gonzaga without Brandon Davies to get to the Sweet 16, and they did. And they pert near beat Florida, which they had no business doing. I don't know if you remember that particular Florida team, but and they took them to overtime, right? So you just never know. I mean, if Jimmer went in fuego just a little bit more against Florida, then they win, right? So if AJ scores 35 instead of 28, you just never know. That's the, I guess, beauty and kind of tragedy about the NCAA tournament. The better team doesn't always win.
I do think inevitably the problem with this, and we can still talk about the impact that he has, which is, you're missing probably your most proven three-point shooter, not your best three-point shooter from a percentage standpoint. Robert Wright has shot the heck out of the ball this year, so credit him. That's been a major plus. But Richie Saunders is shooting 37% from 3, which, if you take out Dawson Baker, is 3rd on the team. Now, Robert Wright's shooting 46% from 3. It's crazy. But Richie Saunders, as prolific as he is as a three-point shooter, shooting 37%, really does matter. I mean, you're really going to miss that badly. But inevitably the problem is, and it's the same thing that we've talked about so many times with Brandon Davies, is if BYU gets eliminated in the Sweet 16, the conversation forever about this team is not necessarily going to be A.J. DeBonsa, the same way BYU's run to the Sweet 16 is not exclusively about Jimmer. It's about, they didn't have Brandon Davies, and now this one will be, they did not have Richie Saunders. That's inevitably going to be a part of the conversation, unless they make a deep run. And actually, the deeper they go, probably the grander this conversation grows.
But that's unavoidable, and I would so. I mean, Kyle Whittingham will tell anybody that will listen that Cam Rising got hurt, and that's the reason he only won 4 games one year.
Yeah, or it's why they didn't win the Rose Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could go, you got to have people ready to go, and why didn't you have a backup quarterback and all this stuff? And frankly, it doesn't matter, right? Other than I'm sure Ute fans are annoyed about the Brandon Davies thing, but who cares? I don't know. What if they win it all? What if Utah had Keith Van Horn the year they played Kentucky in the finals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
You do or you don't.
No, I'm with you. I'm not lamenting it, and other than it's unfortunate for this BYU team that they're not going to have their second or third best player on the floor, and the only real veteran, like the true, a ball-handling veteran late in the game, that's really going to hurt them just because those guys really matter in the tournament. But it is going to be the narrative regardless of what happens. Do I care? No, not particularly because, I don't really care about the Brandon Davies thing either, but it is going to be how we remember this season.
Well, the problem with these NBA guys is everybody's going to forget he went to BYU in 10 minutes. Chris Paul went to
Wake Forest.
How did he do in the NCAA tournament his last year?
Couldn't tell you.
Lost in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, right. No, I'm totally with you.
I mean,
no, I'm
you
with
know
you.
what I mean? You don't associate with Chris Paul with Wake Forest at all, and 2, you absolutely don't care what he did in the NCAA tournament. So A.J. DeBonsa is going to go on to the NBA. People are going to forget he went to BYU in 10 minutes, let alone what he did in the NCAA tournament outside of BYU fans. Yeah. Now, if you're worried about the narrative of BYU underachieved because of the lack of Richie Saunders, that's fans making excuses for their team or coaches. or people associated with. And there's nothing. I mean, Spencer Nelson had the flu, and Utah State lost to Arizona in the first round in 2000. And where's Scotty G when you need him?
Yeah.
Like 2004. It was like the Salim Stoudemire, Arizona, whatever. And Utah State played them tough for about 10 minutes right out of the gate, and then they lost to Lute Olson's Arizona team. And to this day, you'll find a deep blue Aggie fan who'll go, well, if Spencer Nelson didn't have the flu, well, then who knows? You should have seen how well they played. J.C. Carroll had like 15 points in like 2 minutes. I don't know. Okay. That's what fans do. And then Utah fans will go, even if you had Richie, you would have lost.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
And look, I will say along those lines, not to put on a Utah fan hat because you just said that, but this BYU team was clearly not performing up to expectations. I mean, they hadn't beat top 25 teams. They had, one top 30 win before they beat Baylor. Like, they had issues, and they were probably heading towards a somewhat disappointing end of the season, likely. Not, you can't guarantee it, but they were not beating the best teams on their schedule very consistently. And I do wonder now how we will reflect on the season, maybe falsely or incorrectly, because we'll say, it has everything to do with Richie Saunders not being out there, when actually you watch the team with him and they could not beat Houston, they could not beat Kansas, they could not beat Texas Tech. They couldn't beat some of these teams that were expected to make deeper runs in front of them.
The Arizona team that won the national championship in 98, Miles Simon, Mike Bibby, the year before Utah beat them.
Is that 97?
97.
Whatever it was, yeah.
You know what they finished in the Pac-12 that year? 5th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could go back and look game by game. I'm assuming they didn't beat the best teams on, or people are going to do deeper runs or whatever, and then they fall out of nowhere and win the dang thing.
That is the problem.
That is the problem. So to go like, I saw DJ put out a tweet. They like to do the Twitter polls or whatever, and he said, "Is Richie Saunders' season is done? Are the Cougs done too? Who knows? All you got to do is get in. You got to get in, and you got to find some favorable matchups. And all of a sudden, if A.J. DeBonsa is scoring 35 a game and is unstoppable, who cares?
Sure.
That's the brilliance and madness of it all.
And he does have to be at his best, and that's what is ultimately going to determine how far BYU goes. How good is A.J. DeBonsa?
Utah beat North Carolina in the Final Four. That North Carolina team was way better.
Yep.
And I mean way better. Right. Go look at the rosters. Way better.
But that night, Utah had the best player on the floor.
And they ground the game to a halt. Yep. They negated all North Carolina's athleticism. They took advantage of Bill Guthrie, who'd never really been there before, and Rick Majerus was obviously Rick Majerus, and they figured out a way to do it. Now, Kevin Young, if we want to talk about if all of a sudden the pressure is amped up on him, I would say yeah, because he's got to figure it out. Because I don't care that Richie Saunders isn't going to be there. That doesn't matter. You got to go get it done. He shouldn't care either. Not from a lack of humanist.
Sure.
I'm sure he cares.
Yeah, humanity-wise,
I'm sure he cares very much. But honestly, he can't care about it. The expectations shouldn't adjust. You shouldn't let him off the hook. Is this a team that can win some games in the NCAA tournament or not? It's his job to go figure that out.
I think one of the hard parts for BYU, though, that I will be curious about, not moving forward, not just this season, but future years was this the lightning in the bottle season, which was you get the number one overall recruit in the country. He's the number one overall recruit in the country because he happened to play high school or AAU basketball in your state. Now, that was designed. He moved here specifically to kind of start this lineage. But you have that, but also you still have the older model that allows guys to develop to their third and fourth seasons like Richie Saunders did, where NIL hadn't fully taken over. So you did have the classic BYU old skilled players that aren't top tier NBA draft prospects, though Richie had started to put himself in that conversation, not top tier, but NBA guy. You have a little blend of that mixed with the superstar freshman talent. Is this window to do both going to stay open for BYU going forward? I don't know. I don't know how often they're going to be able to replicate landing A.J. DeBonsa, much less staying old, which is not common in college basketball anymore with the transfer portal, and then be able to mix both of them.
I actually think it's becoming more, depending on who you are, it's becoming more possible. But I don't think BYU will land the biggest recruit in the country every year. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do know that A.J. DeBonsa was not on the team last year, and they went to the Sweet 16.
Correct.
So if BYU somehow doesn't get the top recruit in the country, do I think their basketball program should just close up shop? I do not.
No, I agree. I just wonder if this is the only year they're going to be able to truly test this model.
I don't know. They've got a pretty good big recruit next year, right?
Yeah.
So maybe. I think BYU should do its best to maintain its previous culture because I think they're actually equipped to do that more than other schools, to retain their players and develop them because there's an additional connection to the school that's not just financial. So you can keep Richie Saunders in your program for multiple years, just to use that example, and you don't have to flip the whole roster every year. But I don't think they need A.J. DeBonsa to go to the Sweet 16.
I agree.
I think, in fact, I think the Big 12 and playing in this league will make them more durable and more equipped to do it going forward.
Sure. Sweet 16 is not good enough for a $10 million roster or whatever it is.
Well,
$8 million roster.
It's not my money, so
No,
I don't.
that's fine.
And we actually don't know how much money. That's the problem with that argument.
But AJ's 4, Rob Wright's 2, right? I mean, that's the $6 million already. And that's just booster money. I don't know how much of it's actually coming from BYU or whatever, but that's the number is at least 6 for those 2 players alone, and then Richie gets paid, and then the top 3 or 4 players get paid. It's at least $7 million. Is that good enough? Is a Sweet 16 run good enough for the people cutting that check? And if not, then the model will change. That's the problem.
Hold it to the other side. Are you going to forgive Utah for not being good because their budget is more of a shoestring? No. You're not going to let them off the hook. If Alex Jensen doesn't start winning in the next couple of years, you're not going to say, well,
no, I agree.
He's running a poor program.
I totally agree.
If I'm not going to care about the budget there, I'm certainly not going to care about the budget on the high end until there's some sort of equal whatever where you make it where it's punitive if you don't spend your money right. I don't care if BYU flushes a bunch of dough down the toilet. It doesn't adjust my expectations for them. Are they a good basketball team or not?
See, I think it should adjust expectations. The same way, Kalani not taking the Penn State job changes the expectations for BYU because he wants to have the same resources in Provo that they have at Penn State, and he wants to win at the same level. And if they don't, I think it's fine to hold him accountable for that. If that's the money and that's the expectation, I have no problem holding them to that expectation. And the same way I feel about BYU this year. It changes because one of their best players got hurt.
Except for at Penn State, the expectations are way further north than BYU. If Kalani doesn't make a college football playoff in the next 5 years, he's probably still employed as long as the bottom doesn't
really
drop
curious.
out.
He's one of the highest paid coaches now in college football. I'll be really curious.
You can magically wish resources one way or another, but until it's actually accounted for, I don't think it really matters. I mean...
No, you're right. And we haven't gotten to the point where anyone's being held accountable yet for it at BYU, but I do think that day is coming.
Plus, the bar on making a college football playoff is now so low. I mean, that totally. Take may have definitely changed. But, if you're Penn State and you don't make the 4-team playoff, they're gonna fire you, or they're going to certainly hold you more accountable because those are the expectations. I don't think those are even close at BYU.
And where I'll disagree with you of holding the candle to Utah the same one that you will to BYU, we would feel differently if we just said, hey, Alex Jensen has this team back to making the tournament every year. That would be good enough right now, and that's clearly not good enough for BYU.
Okay, but apply it to football.
In what way?
Well, you're talking about Alex Jensen, who's building a program from scratch. Mm-hmm. What if Morgan Scalley turns the football program into 7 wins a year?
Mm-hmm. He'll be out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were not going to play they're underfunded card. Nobody's going to care about that.
No, it's certainly because of what their success has been, and I do wonder if we should change those expectations.
So what the argument you're making is more about where the program is now, is not necessarily a financial one. So if the program
for BYU basketball?
No, for Utah, that's what I'm saying. For the bottom end, the argument you're saying, well, if Alex turns it into a mediocre ship, then that'll be okay. But that's because the program sucks so bad right now. That's not a financial thing. If the football program goes to mediocrity, so goes the other way, there will be no tolerance. Nobody will care about the budget. None of that.
Sure.
It's because it has to do with where the program is, not necessarily the
BYU?
budget. Utah. I'm talking about the bottom end.
Utah has invested pretty well in their football team, certainly not to the caliber of what BYU seems to be doing now. But I do think Utah has invested far more in their football team than their basketball team.
They're still not going to be the most funded football team, not even close.
No, they won't. Which is why they finished 3rd in the conference last year.
They're going to be on the same page as the basketball program, give or take.
Yeah, they're going to be fighting uphill every single year. And when Texas Tech and BYU finishes above them, or whoever has more money finishes above them, I think you're going to be able to draw a very clear line of why that's the case.
So if they have a couple of 500 seasons, nobody's going to care that they don't have the resources that other programs do.
No, because I think there are other resources that are advantageous, in addition to some money that they do spend on their team. I mean, they were able to retain 2 first-round draft picks on the offensive line by itself. And then they were to go out and get a big quarterback transfer last year. Like, they clearly have money. They do spend money. I think that applies to the football team, and you can hold them accountable
but not
for that.
the basketball team?
I don't think they spend money on the basketball team.
I think it's basically in the same boat.
I don't think they spend any money on this basketball team.
Not this one.
Right.
But they hired late in the game, so I don't know.
We'll see. If they start putting money into big transfers, they just got a big kid from Austria who's transferring over. International kid who's coming into play. I couldn't tell if his jersey said Australia or Austria from the angle of the photo. But they are starting to try and get some bigger recruits.
Top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com. Coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about University of Utah Health. At University of Utah Health, hope is in our DNA. Learn more at uofuhealth.org. Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, I had to check to make sure that this was not NBA Central. This was from NBA Central, but it seems to be confirmed that Adam Silver's disgust with the tanking stems from gambling companies.
Ben Golliver, who wrote the book Bubble Ball, a gift from my friend Jake Scott, gave me one time, is a longtime NBA reporter. And yes, he's reporting that part of the recent push for fines, which Adam Silver did address over the weekend in his All-Star availability, has to do with the fury around some over-unders and prop bets from gambling companies.
I think maybe we need to have a bigger conversation about Adam Silver. I'm sure you guys really hit it home.
Laid into him, yeah.
Last week. I thought his comments on everything he talked about were entirely insufficient.
Yep. He's completely lost it.
Well,
in my opinion.
This is maybe the bigger, did he ever have it?
He may not have.
Has he ever had it? Because say what you will about some other commissioners, they were not flawless, but they were fierce in their...
They had a vision, at the very least.
Right. Like Roger Goodell is pure evil.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that he's good at his job.
Right. And it might be evil for the good of the sport.
Right. Making horrible judgments and decisions about horrible things, but there's no doubt that the NFL is on a trajectory that is successful.
Yeah, and it teams with the quality of the product continuing to improve. The problem with the NBA is regularly the product feels to be getting worse. And Adam Silver, while making everybody around him far more money, which is probably why he continues to have a job, he's made everybody extraordinarily wealthy who's involved in the NBA, but the product is getting less and less enjoyable.
David Stern, I think, was a fairly dishonest person. A bit of a strong man, but he was really good at it. He was really good at running the league. I don't think Adam Silver is any of that.
Nope.
I don't think David Stern would ever be manipulated by anybody, let alone a gambling company, which I would 1,000%. Well, Sam Presti started a behind-the-scenes PR campaign against the Jazz, right? I mean, that was reported by our guy Tony Jones, right? Last week. David Stern would never be bent by any of that stuff.
Who's twisting your arm, Adam Silver?
Yeah, right.
A single owner?
And
or a GM, I should say.
And you're just giving in, you know? And I would beg the question, well, let's move on, but I wouldn't mind coming back to this. Give me a thing that Adam Silver's done in his tenure that has been a good decision or a good policy or a good anything. And I can think of one example, and maybe we can come up with others. But as far as I'm concerned, the pool of good decisions by Adam Silver is super shallow.
He got very lucky this weekend, which leads us into number 2.
Well, how did you guys like the All-Star weekend?
It was, well, the weekend itself was awful, but Sunday was good. Sunday was the most watchable All-Star game we've had in a very long time. And if you didn't pay attention, it's because it's been bad for a long time. But we had 3 teams, 2 Team United States rosters, or rosters made up of players from the United States, and an international roster. And they came out, and because each game is only 12 minutes long, it's not an Elam ending. It's just 12 minutes. Everyone really played hard for 12 minutes. And, the next game went on, they played hard for 12 minutes. There was only one bad game of the 4 that were played, and it was the final because it ended up being a blowout. But the first 3 were legitimately very fun to watch, and the players were trying hard, and one of them was decided on a buzzer beater. One of them went to overtime. These guys were really out there playing hard, and that took a lot of heat off of Adam Silver this weekend because he had such a bad week.
Long term, I don't think any sort of all-star performance will take the heat off Adam Silver. But again, that's back to our previous conversation. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's sustainable?
No, I don't. No.
Do you think in the same format the players come back next year and give the same performance?
No, absolutely not.
I don't either.
No, because it's not going to surprise anybody. Everyone, I think, was a little surprised. Wemby came out and played hard, so it worked a little bit, and they thought, oh, that's fun. We'll go out and compete for this game, and okay, and then it just kind of rolled into the second game, and then randomly, and again, there's some randomness because it's such a small sample size. The third quarter, which is the third game, I believe it was this one, Kawhi Leonard just went bananas. He had 25 of the 38 points. He caught fire. It was at Intuit Dome. It was kind of the perfect recipe. It was the beleaguered star who that team thinks the league is trying to come after him to void his contract. Adam Silver had to address it earlier in the day. He comes out, lights the world on fire. That part of it, was the magical randomness of it that can make it fun, where if it didn't have that, we might have been talking about how, the first 2 games were fun and the last 2 were terrible, and that totally changes the conversation.
So this cat isn't quite as fat and worthless as, say, what is it called? Elam ending?
Elam ending, yeah.
Cat in the wall, eh?
Which was the dumbest idea ever hatched, ever. It's confusing. It didn't do anything. It didn't cause anybody to play any harder.
It didn't fix anything,
It was
certainly.
so dumb
Yeah.
that if you're telling me that this was less dumb than that, sure. But it's still a gimmick, and I don't think that they can replicate it. I would say still just make it an NBA convention and get rid of the game entirely. The most funny thing about the weekend to me was that they changed the time of everything that happened on Saturday, and nobody even noticed.
Nobody knew. Yeah.
Nobody knew. Nobody, even, I found it hilarious. Even media covering the event was like, well, I didn't show up because I thought it was, later in the day when it normally is. And I do think it's funny the NBA getting bumped for the Olympics. And why would NBC carry the Olympics and the NBA All-Star Game? There are other NBA partners. Why don't you kick the can to ESPN this year and then
bring it
carry?
back next year.
That made. Now, there's probably a very good reason for that, I suppose, but that made 0 sense to me. Although the NBA All-Star Game did post its best rating number in years, but that's because its lead-in was the Olympics, and it still lost 65% of the audience from the Olympics.
Right.
So, I don't know. The NBA can take a victory lap over All-Star break if it really wants, but I still think it's as worthless as it's been for 15 years.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. This is the problem. What they did this year was great. It worked for a few random reasons that are not guaranteed to work next season. So, no, they have not fixed it.
And by the way, the Saturday event. All right. Now, last time the All-Star game was in Salt Lake, I was not in town. So you could tell me this. But I'm pretty sure that the Saturday event here in Salt Lake City was sold out.
Yes, it was fuller, certainly, than what we saw at Intuit Dome. I remember there was a big issue because locals wanted to go and felt like they couldn't afford it. But that was the narrative, not that nobody's going to this thing. There was nobody at All-Star Saturday.
Nobody.
It was crazy to look at the crowd.
Which is such a bad look, by the way. Just, you know what, if it's that, let people in for free at the last second or whatever.
Let all the locals come in for $15.
Just to put butts in seats, because that looked so bad.
Yeah, nobody watched it. But you're right. It was on Valentine's Day, and everything started at 2:15 local. It was crazy. It was very weird.
They didn't even market it well.
Yeah, I get it. People want to be able to watch on the East Coast at a somewhat reasonable hour, but you sold out everybody in that city.
Oh, they did it for the Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they did it.
You're right. So you get back to primetime viewing. You're right.
What's next?
Number 3, Clayton Keller made his Olympic debut over the weekend. Here are his thoughts on that.
Lots of, excitement, butterflies. So, I think my energy was there, even though, it's haven't skated a whole lot. So I actually felt, pretty good, and just tried to, keep it simple, do all the little things right, learn our systems quickly, and the guys made it, super easy for me to come in and, just always helping me out and, giving me confidence, I guess.
USA wins Group C by beating Germany 5-1. No points from Clayton Keller, but yeah, he looked like he was having a great time on the bench and out there and joking around. I don't see him smile that much during Mammoth games, and he had a huge grin on his face during this game.
Can I ask you this dumb question?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain the reason I'm asking a dumb question. But my dumb question is, how are they playing? And the reason I have no idea is because that mouse actively policed Winter Olympic conversation, or they would not show it on their televisions. I was totally dialed out of the Olympics because Mickey himself was walking around. If you were like, hey, what happened in the bobsled? That mouse threw you right off.
In the water.
The Olympics, as far on the Disney Wish, the Olympics were not happening.
That's crazy. They're playing fine. They have had a lot of slow starts, including they were down in after the first period of one game. So they've played 3 games. They have not had a good start yet, and Canada is blowing everybody out. So I think there is some growing fear that Canada is significantly better than Team USA.
We'll talk to Cole Bagley about it coming up at 11:30. I did watch the pairs figure skating yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. The pair from Japan won. Mm-hmm. And it totally gave me PTSD from my wedding. Because I don't know if you saw the celebration, Christian, but the fella was absolutely crying his brains out. You could tell this was the biggest deal of his entire life. The gal, absolute robot.
Stone cold.
Didn't even smile.
Yeah.
Not a tear. People were congratulating her, and she was like, man, yeah, I don't know. And then, meanwhile, the guy was coming apart at the seams.
She's patting him on the back, it's okay, buddy.
Yeah.
That was 100% me at my wedding. I mean, I'm just tear, everything. And then my wife, absolute robot.
Yeah.
She could I could be anywhere else, really.
I will say I do think Clayton Keller playing in the Olympics is really good for the Mammoth as far as people are kind of casually paying attention to the hockey team. And as a result, they're there's a local that you're rooting for. I do think that will help grow some of the identity. We've talked about how do you make these guys stars in the community, especially when none of them have star personalities. They don't have that type of player that's going to steal the show necessarily. They're all pretty quiet. They're all pretty reserved. Having a guy on a national or international scale play at this level is going to make some fans locally.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about Win Ticket Wednesday, your chance to win big every week on the station this week. It's a big one, Ben. 2 tickets to go see Post Malone with special guest Jelly Roll and Carter Faith at Rice-Eccles Stadium on July 28th. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com, or you can listen all day tomorrow for your chance to win. Also, the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. We're teaming up with Beehive Meals to honor people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Yeah, we'll have to get more into the Adam Silver thing coming up. I definitely have thoughts on that. Cole Bagley's going to join us at 11:30. Did you see that Kevin Durant's burner DMs came out?
His second burner.
Yeah, because he had one years ago.
Yeah.
And now there's multiple, right? There's multiple burners that they found, but he was having, DM chats with groups?
Group chats, yeah.
And was talking as himself, which was kind of funny. But did you have a particular morsel that was your favorite?
Well, hammering Jabari Smith Jr. was very funny and saying you basically can't let him touch the ball late and that he's not a very good player. burning his teammates is very, very difficult. He burned Trae Young, right?
What did he say about Trae Young? I don't know if I saw that one.
Oh, let me see if I can find it really quick.
My favorite was he said that Steve Kerr doesn't coach, which I've long believed. Long believed. If you can plug Luke Walton, who is barely smart enough to tie his shoes, into the head coaching position with Golden State and do just as well as Steve Kerr, I'm convinced that guy doesn't coach.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty hilarious to hear Kevin Durant say basically that he doesn't coach. And if you don't pass it to Steph Curry, they'll just cut you. Which honestly is true.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But that's fine. They won you 2 championships. No, this has been the problem with Kevin Durant his entire career. Is he's just really not a leader. And not only is he not a leader, it seems like behind the scenes, maybe he's actively toxic. And not Mark Jackson toxic, trying to turn the locker room on one another, but just like doesn't like people and doesn't really buy in that much, or is just a little too silly. He's a little too goofy about it. And I think that might be the hard part.
I think he's hiding behind the goofy. That actually kind of bugs me. He's not goofy.
Okay. You think he is vitriolic?
I mean, what word do you want to use for it? I mean, jerk is a traditional word.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You know, something like that. An unpleasant person. I mean, I still find it bizarre that we know the name of his manager, Rich Kleiman.
Yeah.
Remember when Brooklyn thanked Rich Kleiman in their statement about signing Kevin Durant?
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't Trae Young. Maybe I'm missing on Trae Young.
No, I don't think it was Trae
Okay.
Young.
I'll
Or
have
at
to look
least
up some of the other.
I missed that one.
He compared Devin Booker and Frank Vogel to Stalin and Hitler and Mussolini and Kim Jong-un.
Which is extreme.
Well, he was saying
Two dictators.
Dictators. They come in twos.
Yeah. Okay.
I was saying Booker got the credit when they won and he got the blame when they lost. Well, they did get better after getting rid of him, so that might be.
And they made the finals before he was there. So, yeah, I kind of get what they're saying.
He might be the ultimate that guy that you hate playing with at your local gym. Mm-hmm. The guy who's just a ball hog and then just cries when nobody else passes him the ball and then is just a complete jerk because he can be.
Yeah.
That might be Kevin Durant.
Yep. No question
And
about
he's
it.
so skilled, you kind of have to put up with it. But it is funny at the end of the career, you know, to see how much you have to put up with. Houston should trade. Well, I guess they can't, but they should move off him as soon as they can. Did you see Şengün had a response on Instagram because he said, you know, what kind of franchise player can't shoot or play defense? And Şengün responded and then deleted it like an hour later, but basically saying, you're not a very pleasant person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this has always been a frustrating part of Kevin Durant.
But you're not good enough to really behave that way anymore.
Agreed. Yeah.
Did you believe the report that they actually confronted him about it and he stormed off? Did you see that one?
I did not.
I don't know. That could have been fake news. I just saw that from one place, but that some staffer saw him with the burner at the end of January and they had some team meeting and he stormed off. All of a sudden, I thought the Rockets would actually be kind of a mild contending team in the West.
As soon as Fred VanVleet went down, their ability to win that championship or compete really, really dropped off, and I think that was their big issue. His burner account, by the way, was Get Higher 77. He's probably the most famous smoker in the NBA.
There was
He's a
another
huge weed
one.
guy.
There was another one too that was a Richard joke.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
Sure.
something Dickerson.
Sure. Okay.
What? It was. All right. It's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We're going to hook you up with a pair of tickets to go see the Jazz and the Pelicans on February 26th at Delta Center starting at 7 o'clock. 801-575-ZONE. Caller 12 right now.
He called Russell Westbrook, among other things, a triple-double cocaine bear, meaning somebody who just is insatiable in his desire to chase triple-doubles.
And would take a bite out of Kevin Durant to do so.
Whatever
which
he
was
had to do.
Annoyed by.
Yeah.
All right, stay tuned. More next. 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.